Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NUN Greece Know Before You Go webinar. We have some people who are still trickling in, so we're just going to wait a moment and then we will get started with our presentation. We're so excited that you all were able to join us today. And just so everyone is aware, this session is being recorded. So if you know of someone who wasn't able to be here today, you'll be able to access this recording. We'll make sure that it is posted on our YouTube, and students will have it available in their Canvas so that they can watch. And then all students will need to attest in Canvas that they either were at this webinar today or that they were able to watch our recording. Thank you so much for joining us. And I think we will go ahead and get started. So again, welcome to our NUN Greece Know Before You Go webinar. We're so excited to have you all here. My name is Amanda Schneider, and I want to give you a quick overview of everything that we are going to be going over today. So first, we are going to introduce ourselves. So I'm joined by a few of my amazing fellow staff members. So we will all get a chance to introduce ourselves. We're going to go over the program. We're going to talk about academics, housing, the programming you can expect on site, how to make sure that you feel prepared, health, safety, and security, and then what is coming up next. And then for anyone who has any questions, we do have our Q&A box enabled on the webinar today. So we have a team who is dedicated to that Q&A box. They'll be there to answer your questions all throughout the webinar. So please get your questions submitted and we would be happy to answer them for you. But in case you don't get your questions answered, we will have our email at the very end of this presentation, and you can always send us an email or give us a call, and we would be happy to chat with you. So first, I would love to introduce our Associate Director, Dylan Maurer, and our Assistant Director, Megan Bunton. They both work very closely with our teams. Megan is actually the parent contact. So for any parents, family members, loved ones who have any questions, need to check in about something to do with their student, Megan is the resource for you. She's one of our members in the chat who's answering questions today. And then we have Dylan, who works super closely with Jenna and all of our students to help ensure our student safety and success. And then we have myself. Again, my name is Amanda Schneider. I am the program supervisor for NUN Greece this year. I'm so excited to be heading to Thessaloniki with all of your students, and I'll be helping to oversee the program logistics as well as our relationship with ACT. And I'll hand it over to Jenna.
Thanks, Amanda. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jenna Dean. I'm the Student Success Manager, so I will be living on site along with Amanda and overseeing the student and residence life side of things. So making sure all the students are getting adjusted and having a wonderful time in Thessaloniki. And I would love to introduce our team that will be working with us. These are our 11 student success coordinators who will each be assigned to a group of approximately 25 of your students, and they'll take them on different included programs and dinners throughout the semester. So we are very excited to get to know your students and help support them through their time in Thessaloniki.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning in the US. My name is Heather Funk, and I am the Director of International Programs and Student Services at the American College of Thessaloniki in Thessaloniki, Greece. I want to congratulate you on your acceptance to the NUN program and for your decision to start your first semester abroad in Greece. As you can see here, there are many of my colleagues who are working behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, making sure that everything is getting prepared for your time abroad. In addition to working with the NUN program, we also run the school, the American College of Thessaloniki, which we'll tell you a little bit more about as we go on. I hope you've had an opportunity to look up Thessaloniki, Greece, and the American College of Thessaloniki. We're looking forward to welcoming you to the second largest city in Thessaloniki, known as a university town, for the many universities and university students who live there. The city was founded in 315 BC and is named after the half sister of Alexander the Great. It was named by her husband Cassander after his wife, Thessaloniki. You're going to be living alongside many people in a very modern town, a very bright town. Along the waterfront of Thessaloniki, you're going to find many um, shops, cafes, museums, archaeological sites, and ruins. Along the center of the city is our brand new metro system that, after more than 30 years of work, has finally opened in the city. Because as they dug, they uncovered so many archaeological gems that things had to be documented before they could continue with the progress. So you're going to be living right alongside other students, living like a local, and you'll be coming up to our lovely campus each day. Here's a map of Thessaloniki. When you have a chance, you can go onto Google Maps and you can check it out. You can see from top to bottom there we have the Capsis Hotel, Le Palace Hotel, the US Consulate, and the Metropolitan Hotel. And down in the lower side to the right, you see where the ACT campus is. The campus of the American College of Thessaloniki is set just outside the ring road on the hillside overlooking the entire city. We have some beautiful views from the campus, and you'll find yourself enjoying both the modern city and our US style campus. The American College of Thessaloniki is part of a greater educational institution called Anatolia College. Anatolia College was established in Merziphone in Asia Minor and brought to Thessaloniki 101 years ago. We've been operating as the American College of Thessaloniki there on the campus in Pilea, overlooking the city. We're part of a multi-tiered educational institution that runs pre-K through master's level education. ACT is the tertiary division or the college division of the Anatolia College, offering liberal arts degrees, 4-year degrees, which are accredited in the US by NISHE, which is the same academic accrediting body that accredits Northeastern in Boston. So you're getting the same quality education as you would be back home. This is our 17th year of partnership with the NUN program, and we're glad to be the oldest longstanding partner with Northeastern. Here's a picture of some of our facilities. When you have an opportunity to go onto our website, act.edu, you can take virtual tours, 360-degree views of different facilities, classrooms, laboratories, athletic facilities. We have a gymnasium, we have a workout area. We also have services on campus like a school doctor and a school psychologist. And so you'll be able to go on and have a look at those various elements that we have available to you.
We'll also be having our students take charter buses from the hotels that they are living in to campus. So these buses are actually chartered by a company called Jordan's, and these are approximate times that we have here on the screen. So students can expect to take the bus in the morning around 9 or 10 a.m., depending on when their first class begins. And then classes typically end earliest around 4 p.m. So we have some buses back to the hotels starting at about 4 p.m. and a little bit later into the evening in case students have classes that go beyond that, or if they're spending a little more time on campus studying. But there is also a public bus route that will go to ACT and heads back towards where the hotels are. And then there are taxis as well. So maybe if you wake up one morning, you can always grab a taxi over to campus. And now we're going to jump into academics because at our core, this really is an academic program. So what do those academics look like while you are going to be on site in Thessaloniki? So you will have 11 weeks of class and then about 1 week for that final exam period. Your first day of classes is going to be September 22nd, and your last day is going to be December 5th. And believe it or not, it's going to be here before you know it. So you are going to be taking 4 classes, and then those 4 classes are each going to be at least 4 credits. Now, this could change depending on if you are taking a class that involves a lab, and so those credits will change just because you're spending a little extra time in class each week. So you can expect to, because you're getting 4 credits typically for your classes, you're also going to spend about 4 hours in those classes each week. So meeting multiple times throughout the week to meet that 4 hours. And then ACT works very closely with all of the academics team in Boston. So the classes that you'll be taking at ACT actually follow the same curriculum as the equivalent courses that are being offered at Northeastern in Boston. So this is to give you an idea of what the grading scale looks like. ACT actually uses a US grading scale. So what's great is you will already be used to, if you're used to the US system, the grading scale and what that looks like. And then because we're able to offer equivalent courses, you actually are going to have your grades transfer to your transcript. So if you receive an A in your class at Thessaloniki, you're also going to have an A on your transcript for the equivalent course that you took when you see it on your Northeastern transcript. Now, what's great is ACT is also able to offer tutoring services. So you'll actually receive the schedule for when those tutoring services are being offered when you arrive in Thessaloniki. But if there are any courses that you feel like you need tutoring in that are not currently offered or what you can see on this list, it doesn't mean that they aren't able to offer them. If you let our staff know and let the ACT academic team know, they would be more than happy to help you set up tutoring services if you need them for any of your courses. And if you have any accommodations, please reach out to Disability Access Services at Northeastern. Once you file with DAS, they are actually going to get in touch with the American College of Thessaloniki to discuss any accommodations that are needed by our students. And then once ACT receives those accommodations and they're able to figure out what they're able to offer through their services, they will get in touch with you by email to let you know they received the accommodations request and let you know what accommodations are able to be offered by them. So you will not be able to request that when you are at ACT. Please go through Northeastern, DAS, or Disability Access Services to be able to request those, and then you will hear back from ACT once they receive that request from Northeastern. So your textbooks when you are at ACT are actually going to be available as ebooks. So ACT has a partnership with a company called Moodle, and they're able to offer their textbooks online to students, which is really fantastic. So you will not have to purchase anything beforehand. You will be an ACT student, so you will have an ACT ID number, an email, and then you'll also have a student portal and a student card. But you are also a Northeastern student and you will have access to Northeastern resources. So you're going to have access to NAC Tutoring, which is an online tutoring service that's offered through Northeastern. So since we're offering equivalent courses, we also have tutoring opportunities through Northeastern to help you with any of your coursework. And then we have our NU in Greece academic handbook that is available on our website. So if you go to nun.northeastern.edu, you will be able to see the academic handbook. You can take a look at all of the classes that are being offered in Greece through the program as well. And then once you arrive is when you will receive your finalized schedule. So at this point, I believe all of you have had a session with your Northeastern academic advisor, discussed the courses that you will be taking, and put those in to choose your courses. So you will get your final schedule once you arrive. And the exciting thing is classes start at 10 a.m. each morning. So no need to worry about an 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. class if you're not a morning person. You will be starting at 10 a.m. Some of you might even be starting at 11 a.m. And so you'll be able to take a bus that coincides with making sure you get to your classes on time. And then, as I said before, classes end typically around 4 p.m. or a little bit later. And so we have a few bus options for you to be able to get back to your hotels after classes end for the day. Now, here are some important dates. These dates are also available on our website, nun.northeastern.edu, when you go to the NUN Greece page and take a look at important dates. But we have them here for you as well, so you can see our arrival days, as well as the dates for things like our fall break or days when there are no classes, such as November 17th, Polytechnic Day. We also have our overnight excursion to Athens and Delphi. Those dates are October 31st to November 3rd, so that's really important to note. Please also note that classes do meet on Thanksgiving, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then all of a sudden, it's going to be departure time, December 13th and 14th. So I'm going to hand it over to Jenna to talk about housing.
Thanks, Amanda. Okay, so Amanda is going to click through some photos for me that are going to highlight different parts of our 3 different hotels where students will be housed across Thessaloniki. So as you can see, they are set up for roommates, and we're in 3 different hotels, but they all have very similar amenities, including 24/7 front desk staff, security, NUN staff that will be living within the hotels as well. And students will be finding out their housing soon and their roommates once they arrive on site. And there's also buffets, so they will have breakfast and dinner provided, and then lunch will be on their own, and there is a place to grab lunch on the ACT campus. And finally, there are laundry facilities that can be paid for through the hotel, or you can find local places like laundromats to do your laundry and make some connections within the community. But I will pass it off now to Heather to talk about orientation, programming, and excursions.
Thank you, Jenna. We're looking forward to welcoming you to Thessaloniki. And as Jenna said, during your orientation, you're going to get familiar with your housing, with where to do your laundry, where can you go to an ATM, how do you buy a bottle of water, how do you communicate some basic Greek. Even though lots of people speak English here, knowing a little Greek does go a long way. So from the day that you arrive until the day classes start is what we have called Welcome Week. We want to welcome you to the city. Part of being in Greece is experiencing Greek hospitality, and we want to make sure that you feel a warm welcome and get your feet under you so that you're set up for a really successful semester. During the first week, you're going to get to know your roommate, get to know your friends, get to know your floor mates, also get to know your family groups and who your family group leader is. Make sure that you know who's around that can support you throughout the semester. We'll bring you up to campus. We'll take you on a tour of the city. We'll take you on a tour of your neighborhood. We'll take you on a tour of your hotel. There's going to be lots of touring, but there's also going to be some fun activities sprinkled throughout. And also some opportunity to eat at some traditional Greek tavernas and have some traditional Greek food alongside the hotel buffets. You will have a mix of both Greek and international cuisine. So some things that make you feel like you're a local and some things that feel more familiar to home. During orientation, you're also going to be going on excursions, like I mentioned before. You see on the left-hand side the rotunda from the city tour. On the bottom picture, you see the white tower in the background that stands right on the waterfront of Thessaloniki and is often the image used as the emblem of the city. And my favorite excursion is the day trip to Vergina, which you see on the upper right-hand picture. This is a visit to the Royal Macedonian tombs, where we have the burial place of Philip II, who was father to Alexander the Great. It's a significant archaeological site and a cultural stop that I think is well worth the visit, and we hope that you enjoy it, giving you a feeling of what it means to live in both modern and historical Greece. We'll also take you on a day trip to one of our favorite Greek beaches, which is near to Thessaloniki, so that you can also experience the crystal clear blue waters and a little taste of the Mediterranean before you hit the books. During the semester, though, we want to make sure that you also get a trip to Athens and Delphi. This cultural excursion will take place from October 31st until November 3rd, where we're going to go with all of your classmates down to Athens and Delphi for a 3-night trip, 1 night in Delphi and 3 nights in Athens. This will give you an opportunity to see modern Greece, again, alongside historical Greece. Delphi was the home to the famous oracle. People will go and ask questions of the oracle. Shall I go to war? Shall I marry the neighbor king or queen? What shall I do to increase my kingdom? And there people sought answers, but they often found more questions than they did answers. And while they sat there waiting for answers, They also shared information. It was a bit like the Google of the ancient times. And when they went home, they told people what was going on in other lands, what they had learned, and what the journey had revealed for them. And so we hope that this is a bit of a metaphor for your own NUN journey, that you're going to come abroad, you're going to ask a lot of questions, you're going to get some answers, and you're going to learn how to ask really good questions. That as you go forward, you go back to Northeastern to start your studies there, and you go on in your career, that you have you learned how to ask really good questions to help guide you in your future decisions. Also at ACT, you're going to be able to get involved in clubs, sports, and optional field trips. During the first week of classes, we'll have a 2-day activities fair. We'll have booths set up so you can come around and talk to the club leaders, the sports leaders, the coaches. Your students, as ACT students, you're able to even participate in our organized sports and varsity teams. There will be tryouts at the beginning of the semester, and so you'll be able to join sports like soccer, volleyball, tennis, even lacrosse. ACT, alongside a group of NUN students, was the first to bring lacrosse to Greece a few years ago. So we hope that you're looking forward to this. And at the bottom of the page here, you can see the website where you can go on and find more detailed information about the club sports field trips and dates for the overnight trips, which you'll be able to sign up for after you arrive on site.
Thanks, Heather. So all of your students, along with the different programs that ACT is offering, will have some supplemental programming from our NUN staff as well. So that is the main role of your student success coordinator, is to program different events for them. So some examples from the past were ceramics classes, going to outdoor cinemas, going to theaters, and other awareness events to get students involved in exploring the local city. Included in that, we will be doing family dinners once a month. So each coordinator, as I said earlier, will have about 25 students in their family group, and included as part of the program is a monthly opportunity to dine somewhere out in Thessaloniki. So you can see some examples of places from the past, but we also love to get student input on places that they're looking to explore so that they can try different restaurants across the city and feel like they really conquered Thessaloniki by the end of the semester. And finally, we'll be doing some traditions as well. So your students are in a super interesting place where they are Northeastern students and they're also students of ACT. And so we want to make sure that they're feeling that Husky pride and feeling connected back to Northeastern. So we have a few traditions that we host on campus. Just to highlight a few of my favorites, one is first day of school photos. So we'll take pictures of the students as they're preparing for class and get all of those classic photos where they look excited and it's like they're back in kindergarten. And another one is postcards, where we'll supply them with different postcards and international stamps so that they can mail a postcard home to their friends and their family and really just keep that connection going. But we love these traditions to make sure that students are feeling connected to one another and ACT, as well as back to their other friends and students at Northeastern. And as Amanda mentioned, we are going to have Family Day on November 28th. So while students will still have class on Thanksgiving, there will be an invitation to all of you to come visit us in Thessaloniki and see the life that your student has created. So as it gets closer, keep an eye out on your email where you'll be getting an invite and you'll be able to sign up. And during this time, you'll get to experience a Thanksgiving meal at your child's hotel. You'll be able to get a guided tour of the city and really see the life that your student has built over the months that they've been there.
Amazing. And now we're going to jump in and talk about what life abroad looks like. So, students are able to travel while they are abroad as part of the NUN program. So, if you want to go on some fun weekend trips after classes end, explore some other parts of Europe, students are able to do that. The only requirement that we have from the program is students need to fill out a personal travel form. This form is so that we are aware of where students are when they're not in the city. So that if something were to happen, we would know that we needed to get in touch with a student in a certain location to make sure they had any resources that they needed, or that we could send them any necessary information should they need it. It's also required that students have a working phone plan. We'll talk about that more in a moment, but in case anything were to happen, they needed to get in touch with us or we need to get in touch with them, then we need to make sure students are able to be accessed easily by phone. So again, students are going to need the ability to have calling, texting, and data internationally. So whether you are using your current phone plan and you have the ability to use it internationally, or if you're going to get a local phone number and a local phone plan that you are able to use across the EU, this is going to be extremely important to make sure that your student has the ability to use that phone, get in contact should they ever be in an emergency or need any sort of resource. And we want to make sure that they can talk to you back at home as well, because I know that you're going to want updates. We're also going to make sure students have an emergency phone number so that they can always get in touch with our team. There is a 24/7 number that they will always have access to. So we have phone plans that work in Thessaloniki, and that's why we need them to have one too. So talk to your students about a plan to be able to stay in touch at home. I know the first time that I went away from home for the first time, I was not the best at calling my mom, and she was very upset about that. So we highly recommend that you talk to your student, let them know what your expectations are, whether you want to hear from them every day or every other day by text, or you want to set a day of the week that is your day that you plan to have a phone call to catch up each week. Whatever your expectations are, please communicate that with your student. And students, please communicate what your expectations are with your loved ones so that you can make sure that you stay in touch and that it's one less thing to worry about as you're transitioning to your brand new living space in Thessaloniki. Now, when you're thinking about money, having a credit card, if you have a credit card and are planning to, it's important to make sure that you see if there are any international fees. We highly recommend using a credit card that does not have international fees so that you're not incurring constant charges, but you will be able to use most major credit cards within Thessaloniki. Talk to your banks, see what it looks like, if there are any fees if you use an ATM, or see if maybe they have any international partnerships with banks in Europe so that you might be able to utilize specific ATMs without a fee. You never know what is available, so get in touch with your credit card companies and your banks to see what you're able to do while you're abroad. Now, if you're wondering what the conversion looks like, this is to give you an idea of what the euro is compared to the dollar. So currently, €1 is about $1.17. This does fluctuate, so it could go up while we're abroad or it could go down. So to give you an idea, here is a table of some common purchases and what that would look like if you're paying in euros and what that would look like in US dollars. I'm going to pass it over to Jenna to talk about some health, safety, and security.
Wonderful. Thanks, Amanda. Okay, so here is another look at ACT, and as you can see, it is not just the ACT campus, there's also the high school, middle school, and elementary school that Heather mentioned earlier. So ACT is part of the larger Anatolia College. The nice thing is that on ACT's campus, there's 24/7 security, including Procopus, who could not join us today, but is part of the live-in security team on campus, and they oversee all of the access spots onto the campus. They also have wonderful connections with the local police department. That way, if anything is needed, they know that we're here, they know that we're coming, and they are ready for us. And yeah, there's just a wonderful part of campus. As Heather said, we're going to oversee the city, and we'll be taking those buses up to campus. So a few things about safety and security. So there's 24/7 security and emergency response, and this is done through Northeastern and ACT staff. So we both run on-call schedules to make sure that somebody is available for your student at all times. So once they arrive on site, we'll be sure to get them those emergency numbers. That way, if they're having an issue and they need extra help or input, we can be there for them in person to help with anything that they may need. As mentioned, there's also a close relationship with local law enforcement and the U.S. consulate and embassy. Additionally, it's really important to note that at this point in time, you're filling out a lot of paperwork, and a lot of those are things that your student is signing that is agreeing to different policies and procedures, including respecting the housing they'll be living in, following the Northeastern Code of Conduct, following the Supplemental NU-IN Code of Conduct, and then also agreeing to all of the ACT procedures and policies as well. So it's really important that your student is reading through these things that they're agreeing to, because they will be held accountable for everything that they signed off on, as we are guests in Thessaloniki and Greece, and we want to make sure that we're building accountability in the students for respecting the local people and the local spaces. So for medical facilities, Thessaloniki is a medical hub, so we're in a great area. These are just two hospitals that we're highlighting, one closer to where our hotels are and one closer to the ACT campus. And these are great hospitals for emergency response, as well as if you need to be scheduling a more emergent appointment with somebody, and our global security and safety support network can help schedule for students through there as well. And the really nice thing about these hospitals is that through these 17 years working together, they are vetted, they speak English, and students can feel super comfortable going there and getting help for anything that they may need. Additionally, we love to push students to use the local pharmacies and also the on-campus resources. So Dr. Kuntiwala, pulmonologist, is available for students on campus several days out of the week, and she'll be there for students who just need to drop in and maybe are feeling a little under the weather. And if something more serious comes out of it, she can refer them to someone within Thessaloniki. And similarly, there's a counselor on campus as well, who can have a few appointments with students throughout the semester and refer them out as well. And on the next slide will be Dr. Kunti's email. So please feel free to reach out to her now, especially if you are going to be traveling with prescriptions. So it is very difficult to ship prescriptions abroad and get them through customs. So we highly recommend working with your doctor now to make sure that you can get a semester-long supply that you'll bring with you and put in your personal item. That way, if anything gets lost in transit, you know that you have those important prescriptions with you. Dr. Kunti is a great touch point if you're worried about needing additional prescriptions while abroad, and is somebody that you should be reaching out to now. As another touch point, in Greece, marijuana is not legal. It is super important that you are following the local laws. So while things might be different from where you're from at home, it is really important that we are respecting the culture and the local laws. So marijuana usage is not legal at all and could cause an early end to the semester if you're not following the local rules set in place. Finally, we know safety can be a scary thing as you're going somewhere new at such a young age. And so we partner with Crisis 24, which has a new updated app as a resource, and they help send out emails and updates throughout the semester if you need them, and are another just great contact point for students. And at this point in time, if you're having any questions or concerns, please reach out to our global safety office at mytravelplans@northeastern.edu, and they'd be happy to answer any and all questions. As for health and travel insurance, insurance is not provided by either institution, so you need to really check with your current coverage and obtain additional coverage if needed. So I highly suggest that you call your current coverage and see what that looks like for international coverage. There is access to those free on-campus medical services, so Dr. Kunti and the on-campus counselor are both included. But if you find that you might need to be referred somewhere else out in the city and you might incur some charges, it would be good to know ahead of time what that might look like cost-wise. So as mentioned, our Global Safety and Support Network is a 24/7 international hotline, and this is something that our students use if they want to talk to a doctor, get a doctor appointment, or talk to somebody as they're traveling if they need emergent response. So this is a phone number that will make sure that all students are putting in their phones when they arrive on site for orientation, but also it's up on your screen now, so I highly suggest taking a photo and adding it into your contacts. And as I mentioned, they just recently updated their app. So it's got a new great look, and additionally, you can also now set it up so that you can get push notifications for anything that's happening in the local area and enable your location services, because then the app knows where you are and it knows what to send you about local happenings. And I will pass it off to Amanda to tell us what's coming next.
Thanks, Jenna. Yes, let's see what is coming up. So, first and foremost, if you have not begun a visa process and you are a US or Canadian citizen, you do need a visa in order to study in Thessaloniki for the length of time that we will be there. So, it is very, very important that you look at our visa guide, which is available at nun.northeastern.edu. We also have a visa webinar that is on our YouTube. So please take a look if you have not already. It's very important to make sure that you have your visa process completed. But if you are an EU citizen, you will not need to get a visa prior to arriving in Thessaloniki. And then it's time to think about packing. I know we are all thinking about packing as well. And so it's really important to remember not to pack more than you can bring yourself through the airport. You are going to be in charge of your bags, getting yourself from the airport to the bus where we will take you to the hotels. But it's very important that you are able to manage what you are packing. Anything like towels, linens, pillows, and blankets, that's all going to be provided by the hotel. But make sure that you are bringing clothes that are going to be great for the temperatures. So Thessaloniki is going to be a bit warmer than Boston, which I know I am looking forward to. So when you arrive, temperatures could be in the low 80s. And by the time we are leaving in December, they could be in the mid to low 30s. So it will be a decent range all across the fall. Definitely bring things like a raincoat, and then you will want a heavier jacket for when we are getting closer to the end of the semester. Very important to bring an adapter as well so that you can plug in things like chargers for your phones or any devices. And then if you have any hair tools, we do highly recommend purchasing those hair tools once you are already on the ground, because sometimes that international voltage does not work well. So your hair tools may break when you plug them into the adapter, which would be very sad. So please leave those at home and purchase new ones once you are on the ground. If you are part of the group flight, we're very excited to be waiting for you at the airport. We recommend that you enroll in STEP, the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. This is through the US government. So if you are a US citizen, highly recommended. And then that way they can be aware of where their citizens are and also be sure to send them any emergency resources should they need them. But then also keep an eye on your email for information about your flight. Our staff is going to be monitoring for any delays, but should anything come up, you can always get in touch with Advantage Travel. They're the travel agency that booked the group flight and who you are receiving your ticket information from. So they will be able to help you if anything it happens, like a missed connection, a delay, anything like that. But our team will be there to pick up all of our group flight travelers. And so we highly recommend wearing Northeastern colors and gear. This way it's easier to find one another once you're at the airport. And then we will easily be able to spot you, but you'll also easily be able to spot us as we will be the most excited ones at the airport and wearing some Northeastern gear as well. For independent travelers, we also highly recommend that you enroll in STEP if you are a US citizen. And then if you are arriving at a similar time to our group flights, please make sure that you're getting us all of your information about when your arrival is, and we'd be happy to include you on the buses that the group flights are traveling back on if we're able to. So if we are aware of your arrival at a similar time and you indicate that you would like to take the group travel with us, please do let us know. But for anyone who is arriving outside of the times of the arrivals of our group flights, we will be sending a know before you go email that will give you instructions on how you can most easily get to the airport. And there's also contact information for day of travel, contact numbers, and what to do if you need to get in touch with our team. If you need any assistance, we'd be more than happy to help you. So please look out for that email and get in touch with us if you need anything as you are making your way to your hotel. Once you are on site and we are getting into that transition time, there's going to be a few things that students are going to be thinking about while in Thessaloniki. So first, you're going to be signing up for your housing for when you get back to Boston. So maybe the roommate that you have while you are in Thessaloniki is someone you want to continue living with. You can request to live with one another. Maybe you meet a new friend who you're like, I really want a room with you. When we get back to Boston, you can request one another and you'll be able to sign up for your housing. If you need an F1 visa to study in Boston, you will be able to complete that process and work with our Office of Global Services. If you need any assistance with that, you're going to be choosing your spring courses while you are in Thessaloniki. So the academic advisor that you worked with over the summer, you'll be able to ask them questions, and then you'll be the one choosing all of your classes for the spring. And then once you arrive in Boston, you're actually going to have another orientation, and that is the Husky 101 orientation. So all of our NUN students will be going through that together. Now, for our students, as I said before, pack smart. And like Jenna was saying, make sure that you have your prescriptions all set. And we highly recommend that you have them in your carry-on or personal item so that you are not parted with them should anything happen to your luggage. But we are going to cross our fingers that all checked bags are going to make it okay. And then now that you have viewed this, we want you to go into Canvas and look for the attestation that says you have watched the mandatory Know Before You Go webinar and let us know so that we can make sure that you received all the information that you need. And now, parents, as we discussed, we really want you to talk with your students, talk about your expectations for them, and that way you're both on the same page as they go on this exciting new journey and that you both feel prepared. And then we hope to see you as you start to make travel plans to visit your students. And you have those important dates now to keep in mind. And so once your students arrive, they will receive their schedules. So you can take a look at those schedules to figure out what's going to be the best time for you and your students to visit campus. And here is our contact information. So if you would like to give our office a call, or if you have any questions, please feel free to email us. And then you can also follow us on social media at the NUN program. We have exciting content about all of our locations, but of course, we're going to be posting frequently about NUN Greece. So we'd love to show you all the exciting things that your students are up to. And students, maybe you will get featured. So we'd love to make sure that you can stay in touch with us. So thank you so much for attending our webinar today. And I know there were some questions. I want to take a look to see if there's any lingering questions that we can answer quickly. But again, you can always email us.
Hi, everyone. I just want to address a few questions that might have popped up in the chat. We recently got a few questions about back in Boston, what happens when students are back in Boston. So there is an academic calendar that Northeastern has that lists out undergraduate dates. I highly suggest you take a look at that for the 2025-2026 year. That might not have move-in dates for students. Those will come along when the Housing and Residence Life team at Northeastern reaches out to all students in October sometimes. And then they will note to you those specific dates, what your exact move-in date is, what your housing is. And remember, all of our students in the NUN program are guaranteed housing when they return to Boston. So I would just make sure students look out for that email in a few months, and that will help maybe clarify some of those dates for you and some of your planning. Another question that we had was about hotel assignments and roommates for this fall. So we'll be sending out a communication in that first week of September to notify all students of which hotel that they will be at. That way, if you are an independent traveler traveling on your own to Thessaloniki, you know where to go for check-in. And you will not find out your roommate until you arrive on site during the check-in process. That's when you'll know who that peer is who'll be staying in the same room as you. Another point that I would like to speak on is all students will be in the coming weeks will receive an email. And in that email, you'll have a know before you go guide. This is going to be an extensive document with a lot of details in it. It'll have details about travel documents you should have on you. It'll have details about how to check in when you're in site. It'll have details on how to ask questions if you come across an issue during your travel abroad. So I encourage you to please read that not once, not twice, maybe a few times to get yourself familiar. And all students, please, please, please share that information with your parents. They are there to support you and help answer questions and move you along in the process. So that would be a great time for you all to sit down, a nice conversation before all of you travel to sites. We had a question about the ACT field trips. Do you want to talk on that a little bit more, Heather?
I'd be happy to. Was there a specific question? Was it about the optional trips?
Yes, correct. So maybe just some more information on when they'll be available, if you have some expected cost, and maybe size, amount of people who could join on those trips.
Yeah, absolutely. So every 3 times a year, we offer a selection of several field trips. I think our most popular is probably the Mount Olympus trip. We offer a day hike as well as an overnight hike. The overnight hike is stay at a lodge on the mountain, and it's truly for experienced hikers. The day hike is a challenging hike, but is good for most upper beginner intermediate hikers. It's about 5 or 6 hours of hiking, and then a nice Greek mountainside lodge for a traditional lunch on the mountain before returning to Thessaloniki. The field trip brochure should be posted live on the website now, including dates and fees. If for some reason it's not, I'll check on that, but the last I checked, it was there and available. So you can get an idea of pricing and dates. Typically, we have enough space for all of the students who are interested in going, but you may not get your first choice of dates. So we do ask that you wait until you arrive to sign up when we open the registration system, and that way you and your friends can decide which date you prefer, but knowing that you may not get your first choice of dates. We also have day trips to the Pozar Hot Springs, a day and or an overnight trip to the monasteries of Meteora and the university town of Ioannina. We also have some in-city excursions like to museums, led by our wonderful art history professor, Daphne Lambrew. So there's quite a variety of things, something going on just about every weekend with the exception of fall break. And to families who are listening, I recommend that you wait to solidify travel plans until your student arrives and is selected when they're going to be going on field trips or traveling with their friends, and so that they get their schedule set before you decide when you're coming. That being said, though, if you want your family trip to take priority, that can also be set into your schedule, and then your student can plan around those family plans. So the key here is communication amongst everybody. What is your budget for independent travel, for field trips, for activities, for the students, so that they know how to be planning their time? Communication, that's just key. It's making sure that you have these big discussions openly and in advance, so that everybody has an opportunity to plan accordingly.
Thank you. We had another question in here. We have a few safety and security questions, I think mostly coming from the parent and family perspective. I just want to ensure you if there was a safety or security concern on site, Northeastern and ACT work very closely to acknowledge these concerns. In the past, we've sent out messages to folks letting them know of a situation. If it deals with the larger community, we've also had the local police come and have talks with the students to build some camaraderie, build some understanding, as Jenna was mentioning earlier about that connection with the local community. If there was something to ever happen on site that you're concerned about, again, I can be the point of contact. I am the point of contact for all of our parents and families. So feel free to reach out at any time if there is a situation that is concerning your student individually that we can help on or preempt. We're happy to do so. Let me see. Excuse us while we're trying to look through these questions. I see another question about food safety. We acknowledge that there are a lot of food concerns and dietary restrictions that were indicated on students' global program enrollment form. This is where students input a lot of their details. We have that list. We share that list with ACT. We share that list with all of the hotels. The students will also sit down in that orientation week with the kitchen staff and talk about those dietary restrictions. And also, the hotels have laws and regulations that the food is labeled. So all of the food is labeled at each of these hotels. When they're eating buffet style, they'll be able to know if a product has dairy in it, if a product has egg or nuts in it. And if any concerns arise, we just ask that you tell the staff you see immediately. That way we can address it and make some adjustments if something happens. And maybe the last question I see is about family travel plans with students. I would suggest you wait until students receive their syllabi, and that syllabi will come during orientation week in Thessaloniki. So all students will go up to campus, they'll go on a city tour, they'll have a lot of things, and they'll also get access to their ACT student account. They'll be shared their syllabi in those first week of classes. The professors and instructors will go over that information, but that will be your best source to understand if a student has a heavy exam week or there's a lot of assignments due and maybe you want to avoid that week traveling in. That way you can utilize your students to the best of your ability as tour guides and as hosts when you come visit them in the city. Any other questions that my colleagues are seeing?
No, we're being super active in the Q&A. And again, please, if your question was not answered, please make sure that you're sending us an email or giving us a call using the contact information on screen. So then that way we can make sure we can have a conversation with you or get you any resources if you are having any difficulty. But thank you all so much for joining us for this webinar today. It's been wonderful to have you. We are so excited to get on the ground and be in Thessaloniki with all of you students. And I know we're going to have a wonderful semester. So please, again, reach out if you need us. But otherwise, we will see you soon. Thank you all so much.